Physical slapstick humor. Physical or slapstick humor relies on exaggerated physical actions or situations to provoke laughter, often involving clumsiness, falls, or exaggerated gestures. It's all about the visual and sometimes painful comedic moments, like slipping on a banana peel or getting hit with a pie in the face. Deadpan, dry humor. Deadpan or dry humor is characterized by delivering jokes or witty remarks with a serious, impassive, or emotionless demeanor. It often involves understatement or subtle sarcasm, where the humor lies in the contrast between the seriousness of the delivery and the absurdity of the content. Wordplay puns. Wordplay or puns involves exploiting the multiple meanings of words, their sounds, or the similarity of words to create humor. It's all about the clever linguistic twists, such as double entendres, homophones, or unexpected connections between words, often resulting in witty or groan-worthy jokes. Toilet humor. Toilet humor revolves around crude, vulgar, or scatological themes, often involving bodily functions, bodily noises, or taboo subjects related to the bathroom. It's humor that appeals to our base instincts and can be both childish and hilarious to some. Witty humor. Witty humor is characterized by cleverness, intelligence, and quick thinking, often involving verbal sparring or wordplay. It relies on sharp wit, clever observations, and insightful remarks to provoke laughter, appealing to those who appreciate intellectual humor. Satirical humor. Satirical humor involves using humor, irony, or exaggeration to criticize or ridicule societal issues, politics, or human folly. It often aims to provoke thought or bring about social change through mockery, parody, or satire. Dark humor. Dark humor explores taboo subjects, sensitive topics, or morbid themes in a comedic manner. It often involves making light of tragic or disturbing situations, finding humor in the macabre, and pushing the boundaries of what is socially acceptable to joke about. Cringe humor. Cringe humor involves eliciting discomfort or secondhand embarrassment from the audience through awkward, embarrassing, or socially inappropriate situations. It thrives on the tension between the desire to look away and the compulsion to keep watching, often leaving viewers squirming with discomfort. Ironic humor. Ironic humor involves saying or doing the opposite of what is expected, often resulting in humor through incongruity or reversal of expectations. It plays with contradictions, reversals, or unexpected outcomes to create comedic effect. Observation humor. Observation humor relies on keen observations of everyday life, human behavior, or social norms to find humor in the mundane or the absurdities of everyday existence. It often involves pointing out the quirks, contradictions, or absurdities of human behavior in a relatable way. Topical humor. Topical humor is based on current events, trends, or popular cultural references, making jokes about recent news, celebrity gossip, or cultural phenomena. It's humor that feels timely and relevant, often resonating with audiences who are familiar with the latest happenings. Self-enhancing humor. Self-enhancing humor involves using humor as a coping mechanism or a way to boost one's self-esteem, often through positive self-reflection, optimism, or finding humor in one's own flaws or mistakes. Self-deprecating humor involves making jokes at one's own expense, often highlighting one's flaws, shortcomings, or embarrassing moments. It's a form of humor that can be endearing, relatable, or a way to disarm criticism. Highbrow humor. Highbrow humor appeals to intellectual or cultured audiences, often relying on sophisticated references, literary allusions, or complex wordplay. It's humor that requires a certain level of education or cultural awareness to fully appreciate. Lowbrow humor. Lowbrow humor appeals to the baser instincts or tastes, often relying on simple, crude, or vulgar jokes that don't require much intellectual effort to understand. It's humor that can be enjoyed by a wide audience, often aiming for belly laughs over intellectual stimulation. Surreal absurd humor. Surreal or absurd humor involves presenting bizarre, illogical, or fantastical situations in a matter-of-fact manner, often defying logic or reality to create comedic effect. It's humor that revels in the absurdity of existence and challenges conventional storytelling or comedic conventions. One-liner humor. One-liner humor involves delivering short, witty jokes or quips that pack a punch in just a few words. It's all about concise and clever punchlines that provoke instant laughter without needing a lengthy setup. Anecdotal humor. Anecdotal humor involves telling humorous stories or anecdotes from personal experiences, often embellished for comedic effect. It relies on the humor found in everyday situations, relatable characters, and amusing narratives. Hyperbolic humor. Hyperbolic humor involves exaggerating or amplifying elements of a story, situation, or character to absurd extremes for comedic effect. It's humor that pushes the boundaries of believability, often resulting in outrageous or over-the-top scenarios that provoke laughter. Burlesque humor. Burlesque humor involves using parody, exaggeration, or mockery to lampoon serious subjects, often with a focus on sexuality or risque themes. It's humor that combines comedy with elements of theatricality, satire, and absurdity. Farcical humor. Farcical humor involves creating absurd or ludicrous situations, often characterized by exaggerated physical comedy, mistaken identities, or improbable plot twists. It's humor that revels in chaos, absurdity, and the ridiculousness of human behavior. Epigrammatic humor. Epigrammatic humor involves delivering witty, concise, and memorable statements or aphorisms that encapsulate a humorous insight or observation. It's humor that aims for brevity and impact, often leaving audiences amused and thoughtful. Parodic humor involves imitating or mimicking the style, tone, or conventions of a particular genre, work of art, or cultural phenomenon for comedic effect. It's humor that relies on familiarity with the original source material, often subverting or extracting its elements for comedic effect. Aggressive humor. Aggressive humor involves making jokes or remarks that are confrontational, provocative, or offensive in nature, often aimed at shocking or challenging the audience's sensibilities. It's humor that can be divisive or controversial, pushing boundaries and testing social norms. Affiliative humor. Affiliative humor involves using humor to build rapport, strengthen social bonds, or create a sense of camaraderie within a group. It often involves shared laughter, inside jokes, or playful banter that reinforces social connections. Surprise and incongruity. Surprise and incongruity humor involve catching the audience off guard by presenting unsuspected or contradictory elements in a humorous context. It's humor that relies on the element of surprise or the unexpected twist to provoke laughter. Irony. Irony involves saying or doing the opposite of what is meant, often resulting in humor through the contrast between appearance and reality. It's a literary device that can be used to create humor by highlighting discrepancies, contradictions, or unexpected outcomes. Sarcasm. Sarcasm involves using irony to mock or convey contempt, often through the use of cutting remarks, caustic wit, or verbal irony. It's humor that relies on tone of voice and context to convey the intended meaning, often leaving the target of the sarcasm feeling stung or belittled. Absurdist humor. Absurdist humor involves embracing the inherent irrationality, meaningless, or absurdity of existence to create humor. It often involves surreal or nonsensical situations, bizarre characters, and illogical narratives that challenge conventional logic and storytelling. Meta-humor. Meta-humor involves making jokes or references about the nature of humor itself, often breaking the fourth wall or commenting on the comedic process. It's humor that acknowledges its own artificiality or plays with the conventions of comedy for self-referential laughs. Prop humor. Prop humor involves using physical objects or props to enhance comedic routines, often relying on visual gags, slapstick, or absurd juxtapositions to provoke laughter. It's humor that adds a visual dimension to jokes and performances, often creating memorable and entertaining moments. Improvisational comedy. Improvisational comedy involves creating humor spontaneously without scripted material, often through improvisation games, sketches, or scenes. It relies on quick thinking, creativity, and collaboration to generate laughs in real time. Musical comedy. Musical comedy involves incorporating music, songs, or musical performances into comedic routines, often combining humor with elements of musical theater, cabaret, or vaudeville. It's humor that adds a melodic or rhythmic dimension to comedic performances, enhancing the entertainment value. Cultural humor. Cultural humor involves making jokes or references that are specific to a particular culture, ethnicity, or social group, often relying on shared experiences, stereotypes, or cultural nuances to provoke laughter. It's humor that resonates with audiences who are familiar with the cultural context being depicted. Self-referential humor. Self-referential humor involves making jokes or references about the medium or context in which the humor is presented, often breaking the fourth wall or acknowledging the artificiality of the comedic performance. It's humor that plays with the boundaries between fiction and reality, often blurring the line between performer and audience. Nonsensical humor. Nonsensical humor involves creating absurd or illogical jokes, situations, or narratives that defy rational explanation. It's humor that revels in the absurdity of language, logic, and reality, often relying on surreal imagery, wordplay, or randomness to provoke laughter. Shock humor. Shock humor involves using shocking, offensive, or taboo subjects to provoke laughter, often through provocative or boundary-pushing jokes that challenge social norms or sensibilities. It's humor that aims to shock or provoke a reaction from the audience, sometimes crossing the line into controversy or offensiveness. Situational comedy, sitcom. Situational comedy or sitcom revolves around humorous situations, misunderstandings, or conflicts within a fixed set of characters and settings. It's a format that relies on recurring jokes, running gags, and familiar character dynamics to create laughs in an episodic format. Black comedy. Black comedy, also known as dark comedy, involves making light of serious, taboo, or morbid subjects in a comedic manner. It's humor that explores the absurdity of tragedy, often using irony, satire, or gallows humor to provoke laughter in the face of darkness. Slangwage, slang humor. Slangwage or slang humor involves using colloquial language, regional dialects, or specialized jargon to create humor, often through wordplay, puns, or cultural references specific to the slang being used. It's humor that resonates with audiences who are familiar with the slang or dialect being depicted. Hybrid humor. Hybrid humor involves combining elements of different comedic styles, genres, or techniques to create a unique blend of humor. It's humor that crosses boundaries, defies categorization, and surprises audiences with unexpected combinations of comedic elements.